Well, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Joni Ogg, and on behalf of travelprofessionalnews.com, I want to welcome all of you to today's webinar, and I really appreciate your taking the time out of your day to join us. And with us today are Colin Piper and Kimberly King with Discover Dominica Authority. Now, Colin is the CEO and Director of Tourism at Discover Dominica Authority. He's been doing that since February of 2009. And he has over 30 years of experience in sales, marketing, and operations, having worked for Microsoft, Thomson Reuters, Creole Music Festival, and developed destination marketing campaigns for the authority. He manages a team of 34 individuals and is responsible for destination marketing, product development, and festivals. He has implemented events like the Nature Island Challenge and the Dominica Film Challenge to generate content for the destination. And we also have Kimberly King with us, who has 19 years of experience in business development, sales, marketing, education, and customer service in the hospitality and tourism industry. She holds a Master of Science in Marketing and a Bachelor of Science in Hospitality and Tourism Management. Currently, the Discover Dominica Authority's Destination Marketing Manager, Kimberly has developed, implemented, and evaluated the results of marketing strategies for this award-winning nature island. Now, today, we're going to discover the wonders of Dominica with Colin and Kimberly. And just so you remember, you're all muted, but we do welcome your questions, of course, at any time. You can just put those in the question, type them into the questions area that you see on the right-hand panel of your screen. And when the presentation is all over and they're finished speaking with their presentation, we'll take as many of those questions as we can. So we do encourage you to definitely put your questions in there. So I'm going to turn this microphone over to our esteemed guests. Welcome, Colin. Welcome, Kimberly.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here today. And hope that everyone is having a great day. It's a bright, sunshiny day here in Dominica. Wish you could all be here. But we'll get on with the presentation now as we move on to the next slide. Yeah. So Dominica, not to be confused with the Dominican Republic, is in the middle of the Caribbean archipelago. It's one island south of Guadeloupe, one island north of Martinique. And those two islands are French overseas departments. And for those who prefer English context, it's two islands south of Antigua and two islands north of St. Lucia. And so it's the hidden gem of the Caribbean. It's an outdoor activity haven. It's off the beaten track. And for all those reasons, not only for sun, sand, and sea, but for rainforest as well, we differentiate ourselves from our namesake and also from a number of all the other islands in the Caribbean. So how do you get to Dominica, especially from North America, the United States, and Canada? The easiest way is to check AA.com, that's American Airlines. We have a direct flight from Miami International Airport into Dominica, and that flight connects into as many as 42 cities in North America, some in the US and Toronto for sure in Canada. Now, it's best to check the airline schedule because the schedule is based on seasonality and also based on time changes. Sometimes things change, so it's always best to check with the airline and just make sure that everything is on schedule. So that's one way, certainly, to get to Dominica is through American Airlines, flying out of Miami. And I also just want to mention that there's an airline called Silver Airways, and they are a code share partner to 4 of the top tier airlines. That's Delta, United, JetBlue, and American. So if you go to any of those websites, delta.com, united.com, JetBlue.com, AA.com, you should be able to get to Dominica through a one-stop in San Juan or a stopover in San Juan and a connection with Silver Airways. So it'll show as a United flight with the final leg operated by Silver Airways out of San Juan. So for some, it might actually be easier to get from where you are to San Juan and then catch a later afternoon connecting flight into Dominica, depending on the day in which you're traveling. And so that's the second way to get to Dominica. And then also, just to mention those, especially in the tri-state region out of JFK, there are flights by Caribbean Airlines, especially on a Thursday and a Friday via Piarco International, which is in Port of Spain, Trinidad, onward into Dominica. So that's another option that you can look at from North America. Similarly, for those out of Toronto, that's an option as well. So that's how to get to Dominica. And as we mentioned previously, with the Silver Airways, again, Delta.com, JetBlue.com, American.com. And for those of us who may be listening from Europe, there are, especially from the UK, there are flights into Antigua and Barbados, and from Europe out of Charles de Gaulle into Martinique and Guadeloupe, and also some flights into St. Martin. So there are a number of hubs, other Caribbean island hubs that you can get into Dominica from. It all depends on your origin city, the day in which you're traveling, and the schedule of the airlines. But I like to say 1, 2, 3 American Airlines out of Miami. I like to say number 2 through San Juan, and then number 3 through any of the other island hubs that we may have, Antigua, Barbados, St. Martin, and the like. Okay, so many of the reasons why you all are on this call is to find out, what's behind this hidden gem, Dominica, and I encourage you to read up, and look at some of the accolades that have been bestowed on the destination, from Time Magazine, from Forbes, from Travel and Leisure, which, by the way, just this week, on July 12th, when they announced Dominica was the #1 island in the Caribbean, Bermuda, and the Bahamas, bestowed by Travel and Leisure's Best World Awards. And so this is the second time in a row that we've received that award. And so these are things that we want you to know about, and these are things that we want you to tell your clients as you look at building your book of business. It's not just us patting ourselves on the shoulder, but it's everybody telling us about these wonderful awards. And as you can see, voted #1 in 22 and 23 by Travel and Leisure. We made top 5 destinations for 2023 from Forbes. We were listed in Time Magazine's World's Greatest Places, and we were a destination for Sports Illustrated 2023 swimsuit edition. So a number of people are discovering and exploring Dominica, and we think it's about time that your clients do as well. And I turn it over to Kimberly.
So good afternoon, everyone. As the screen says, I'm Kimberly King. I'm the Destination Marketing Manager for Discover Dominica Authority, and it's a pleasure to have you along. So you may be wondering, what are the 10 reasons to visit Dominica? #1, and that's nature. 2/3 of the island is rainforest. It's home to 365 rivers, misty rainforests, countless waterfalls, hot springs, and the largest boiling lake in the Western Hemisphere, the second largest in the world. hiking and trekking, especially if you have clients that are very much into adventure or by nature they love hiking, Dominica is the place for them. It is the #1 land adventure. Of course, there are over 300 miles of hiking trails. For example, the Waikiki National Trail, it's the longest in the Caribbean with regards to hiking. And there are trails that are suitable for hikers of any level, whether it be a beginner, soft trails, or someone who's really an adventurous and love going the length and breadth of hiking. Diving and snorkeling as well. It's considered one of the top dive destinations, actually in the top 10 by PADI as it relates to diving in the Caribbean. Recently, we hosted the annual Dive Fest here in Dominica in July, just earlier July, and that really highlighted the different awareness about diving in Dominica, free diving, snorkeling, scuba diving, etc., as well as different conservation activities that we undertake in collaboration with private sector. There's also what is big that you should know about is snorkeling in a champagne glass. That's because of the geography of Dominica, the geothermal activity. It causes that sort of compression also below the surface. So what you find is that persons who dive or persons who scuba dive especially in this area as they snorkel as well, you tend to see bubbles coming up to the surface. So we call it a champagne glass. It's actually quite interesting to see. Whale watching. Recently, Dominica was featured on CBS 60 Minutes, speaking all about the whales. And it's the only country in the world where the sperm whale resides all year long. Visitors are also likely to spot dolphins showing off their skills, coming alongside the boat. But we do have some tour operators that offer these tours, and it's one of the best things to do with regards to your clients, whether it be families, persons interested in nature. I will definitely say book this as one of your top activities. Canyoning, yet again, for those who love an adventure, venturing into the heart of the rainforest to climb waterfalls, swim through blue pools, hike across riverbeds, rappel down rock faces. Dominica definitely offers you that because, yet again, the geography of the island. Kalinago culture. So Dominica has the last remaining community of Carib Indians, the Kalinago. That's Dominica's indigenous people, and they have a reserve or a territory dedicated to them where they live. They practice their culture, and in a few weeks' time, actually, we are going to be celebrating the World Indigenous Peoples Day, and I know the territory, the Kalinago territory, is going to be putting on quite a number of activities. So if you have persons who are interested in culture, interested in learning about indigenous culture, I think it makes for not only a good research opportunity, but an opportunity to interact, as I said, with indigenous people. Nowhere else in the Caribbean is such a large community here in the Caribbean. So you get an opportunity to understand their song, their dance, their way of life, their food, etc. Health and wellness, actually my favorite. We saw that coming out from COVID. We're still in COVID in a little way, but coming out from COVID, we had a lot of persons who were very much interested in rejuvenation and concerned with their health and want to learn more about nature and just be at one with nature. And Dominica is definitely the place for that. You step off the aircraft and you immediately feel as if you're in a different place. It's fresh air. You go on hikes or soft trailing and you're surrounded in nature with birds, the sound of the birds, and also yet again, because of the geography of the island, there are these hot spas or these springs where you can immerse yourselves in this hot water and really feel rejuvenated. It's also quite therapeutic as well. I'm not sure if persons knew that parts or scenes from Pirates of the Caribbean in 2 and 3, that man's Stress and Abuse, and were actually shot here in Dominica. I would say book the Indian River boat tour in Portsmouth, Dominica, and be able to experience what you would have seen in one of these movies as well. It's quite an interesting tour, and be sure to end it with a bush rum tour or sampling some of the island's bush rum. Festivals, if you have clients who love to travel for excitement, especially when it comes to music, dance, culture, Dominica is definitely the place for them. So the start of the year, just about late January into early Feb, and possibly into early March. Sometimes you have Carnival. It's one of those very much indigenous carnivals still in the Caribbean, because of the different styles of the parade as well as the music. You also have jazz and Jazz and Creole is really a fusion of the Creole culture, which Dominica is known for, with jazz. And that usually happens in April, just before May Day, which is May 1st. Upcoming, we have one of the largest festivals on island, and that's the World Creole Music Festival, which happens every year in October, the last weekend. That's the Friday, Saturday, Sunday in October. And you find that this event in particular pays homage to a lot of the Creole pioneers of Dominica, as well as the different genres of Creole music. So last year we had quite a fantastic lineup. This year we are looking at really fusing the old with the contemporary, and we look forward to that launch, which is happening very, very soon. Last but not least, cuisine. The food here is amazing, simple but very tasty, and it ranges from your fresh fish, your lobster, your chicken, to of course the national dish, which is callaloo soup, and different things that you must try. For example, goat water, which is actually a soup made from goat meat. It's quite delicious as well. But as I said, nutritious in its value because of yet again, the geography of the island. It's volcanic soil, so you find that a lot of the vegetables are so fresh and tasty. And also a lot of the restaurants around, they tend to also use a lot of local staples in their menus, and the accommodation, the hotels, resorts, etc. They offer a farm to table experience, which is really good for your guests who are interested in health and wellness. Mr. Michael?
Thank you very much, Kimberly. Wonderful. And so from top 10 reasons to visit Dominica, we speak a little bit now about where to stay. And you've got options. If you want luxury, if you want economy, if you want budget, if you want, on the seaside, seashore, ocean view, or if you want to be in the mountains, if you want to be in cottages or villas, or in, bigger buildings with folks around. If you want to be just by a lonesome, you've got a mess load of options and choices. That's how we say it, a mess load. That means you have options. And so first off, I'll just speak a little bit about one. Fort Young Hotel is situated in the city of Roseau. It's been a flagship local brand for a number of years. Was damaged by Hurricane Maria in 2017, And by October of this year, 2023, they'll be back up to full capacity at 101 rooms. And so they're well known for being a dive center as well. So, you know, if you've got groups that are interested in diving, Fort Young is definitely one of the properties that you can come to. Fort Young has a offering called an all-inclusive island included, which means that you do the typical all-inclusive on property, but they also take you out for one or two experiences, you know, so that you can see a little bit about what the island is. So yeah, they are coming up with 60 new rooms, and that'll get them to 100 rooms by October of this year, situated within the city. It's far enough away to avoid all the noise, but yet close enough to take a walk during the day and be in the thick of things. Moving on to the next, we can talk about Colibri Ridge, which is Dominica's newest property. It's 14 rooms, but it is entirely off-grid, and sustainability is the name of the game here. In terms of solar, completely as we mentioned, off-grid. No chlorine in the swimming pools, you know, cisterns for water. And so this, you know, the history of this is very interesting, and you know, and so I encourage you to read up a little bit about it, you know, in terms of the owner and proprietor comes out of Canada, you know, came to Dominica, fell in love, and spent you know, a number of years building this property, and it's finally opened up to rave reviews. And so if sustainability is you know, high on the list of things for your guests, then certainly this is one of the properties that they should look at. On to the next. Tranquility Beach in Dominica is actually in Salisbury. That's in the middle of the island from north to south, but it is on the west coast. And Tranquility Beach is going to be a Curio by Hilton property. And that's going to be 100, right around 100 rooms, made up of some cottages, made up of some villas, and made up of some rooms. And so we're hoping that this will come on stream toward in 2024. And so keep this, you know, mark this space and look for Tranquility Beach, which will be a Curio by Hilton property coming on in 2024. Similarly, we have another called Anichi. Anichi is 128 rooms, and that's going to be a Marriott Autograph property. As I mentioned, 128 rooms, a number of buildings, oceanfront, and so you'll have access to the ocean. And we're hoping in 2024 that will be out as well. And just before I turn it over to Kimberly, I do want to mention, don't have a slide for it, but I do want to mention that Intercontinental, which is a brand under the IHG flag, is now operating the Cabritz Resort and Spa in Dominica. So that was previously operated by Kempinski, which was a European brand. But Intercontinental is now operating that, and there's 151 rooms. And so for those of you who know that brand, you've got your clients have points, those sorts of things. It makes it it's very and it's a well-known brand and something that your clients are used to. Then great. Because of its size, it's great for groups, and so any sort of destination wedding can be looked at, any sort of group travel, multi-generational family travel. And so, yeah, I wanted to mention that Intercontinental is on island in Dominica, with what is currently the largest property at 151 rooms. Over to you, Kimberly.
Thanks so much. It's so great. Now you have an idea of where you can stay. I just want to remind you of things that you can help build your clients' itineraries. We tend to get a lot of questions on what is there to do in Dominica, and I can definitely say that there's a lot that you can do. You can hike, you can kayak, you can dive, you can snorkel, you can relax on a black sand beach, you can relax at a hot spa. There's many things that you can do. For those of you all interested in health and wellness or romance, especially we're seeing a lot more persons traveling with their partners, Dominica is ideal for that romantic getaway, celebrating that anniversary, or even a destination, atypical destination wedding. Actually, in the past, we've had couples who tie the knots underwater, especially for those who are into diving. That's something a bit different. An itinerary will look like, for example, the thermal hot springs, outdoor massages. You can get outdoor massages at one of the many rivers. Very relaxing experience. Also at some of the properties here, they offer yoga and meditation classes, for example, Jungle Bay. You can do hikes to spectacular waterfalls, for example, Middleham or Victoria Falls, which is iconic because of that white looking, calcium looking water. Obviously, there's sensational sunsets here in Dominica, and you can do a boating tour at evening to be able to experience this as well. For those that are seeking adventure, as you know, Dominica is referred to as a nature island, and we like to say that it's one of the world's largest outdoor gyms because there's so many things that you can do in terms of walking, trekking, trailing, so many adventure experiences outdoor, whether it be kayaking. For example, in 2022, the Supre Outdoor Center, actually in collaboration with the Ministry of Tourism here in Dominica, launched the first ever kayak trail for Dominica, and that's the Waitikabuli Sea Trail. That sea trail actually mirrors the Waitikabuli National Trail, which is the hiking trail. So we have the longest hiking trail in the Caribbean, but we also now have a kayaking trail. And the idea behind it is to make sure that you kayak along the coast to different communities, stop over, take a rest for a night or two in one of the Airbnbs or the guest houses there within that community, have some of the bites within that community, get to enjoy the food of Dominica, live like a local for a little bit, and be back on the kayak the next morning to continue the different segments. Of course, hiking to the waterfalls, as I mentioned before, Middleham, Victoria, there's so many other falls, for example, syndicates, etc. It's the land of waterfalls here in Dominica. Whale watching, it's a must-do. For example, we have operators like Dive Dominica that you can schedule your clients' tours with, and also canyoning for those that are adventurous at heart. How can you really sell Dominica to, we also get this sort of question as well, how can we confidently sell Dominica? And we will say that it's for those who are looking to return to the Caribbean, but they definitely want to try something different. We might be a honeymooner or someone who's celebrating their anniversary or having a once-in-a-lifetime experience on holiday. It's for those who are adventurous and are looking for a new playground to roam. What we're seeing more and more is a lot of multi-destination, or what we used to call back in the day as island hopping. So if you will tell me if you're hearing me so clearly.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, great. So multi-destination travel or island hopping, whether that be from St. Lucia, from Guadeloupe, from Martinique, from Barbados. If you're coming to Barbados, you have clients coming to Barbados and they would like to add Dominica onto the itinerary. I think that's a good plus. As Mr. Piper mentioned, there are a lot of hubs that persons can get into Dominica from: Barbados, St. Lucia, Guadeloupe, Martinique, Antigua. So have them fly to one of these, spend a few days there, and then hop across to Dominica and be back out. It gives them an opportunity to sort of extend and have new experiences on the same trip. Customers or clients who might be seeking a luxurious holiday. Mr. Piper had mentioned before with regards to enjoying the different property types that we have here. In addition to Dominica winning #1 Caribbean again for Caribbean Island again in 2023, we also have one of the properties that has won again, and that's Secret Bay. And that is a 6-star property here on island. So if you have clients who are luxury, ultra luxury, Dominica is also the place for them. If you would like to learn more about the Nature Island, we actually just finished a training portal for travel agents, literally in tweaking phases with regards to just the domain of that training portal. So we are expected to be all done this week, and come July 30th, even a little before that, I would say about the 28th, in 2 weeks' time, we should be able to share that link where you can go on, learn more about Dominica, get even more comfortable, be certified, and hopefully in a few months' time, we are going to add the opportunity for persons to be incentivized even more with some fantastic prizes. So stay tuned for that training portal via OTT come end of month. If you're interested in any farm opportunities, we will definitely encourage you to stay connected, but also to subscribe to what is on screen, and that's taconnect.net/agent/Dominica. So you'll be in the know of upcoming farm opportunities, as well as various travel agent incentives as well. So Joni, now we can look forward to any questions that
Great. Wonderful presentation. Oh, it's so beautiful. I want to go. It's gorgeous. So we do have some questions. We got some great questions, and thank you, agents, for these questions. If anybody has any more, just type them in and we'll get to those. First question that we have is, when is the carnival? And do you have also, that along the same lines, do you have any other food and restaurant festivals?
Okay, I'll take that because it's an easy one. Carnival is Monday and Tuesday before Ash Wednesday. Those are the dates. So whenever, just look for Ash Wednesday, and then our carnival is Monday and Tuesday before that. We do not currently have any specific food festivals, but every community festival or feast is based around some sort of religious or historical, is based on that, and there is food associated with that. So, for example, the Feast of St. Peter, which just happened in Scotshead, is all about fish, and that is celebrated in 3 different communities in Dominica. So we would probably have some information on that. But in terms of a national cuisine festival, look out for that in 2024, where we will have a restaurant week, which is much like you see elsewhere, but will be featuring and focusing on certain Dominican delicacies.
Perfect. Okay, great. Something to look forward to. Someone's asking, how large is the island?
The island is 28 miles by 16 miles at its longest and widest mark. That's just shy of 300 square miles. I'm still in the generation of miles and feet, so I couldn't tell you what that is from a metric standpoint. But yeah, 300 square miles and 28 miles long and 16 miles wide. It's the third largest English-speaking island in the Caribbean.
Oh, okay. That gives you some perspective on it then, yes. Are there any all-inclusives on the island, or if you did mention that, they weren't sure at that time, so.
Kimberly?
Yes, yes, there are. I will first like to say that it's not your traditional take, but there's definitely all-inclusive. Mr. Piper had mentioned in his presentation about Fort Young Hotel, the all-inclusive, island included. So in terms of your meal plan, that can be customized for all meals, and also your tours are included in that all-inclusive. We recently also 4 properties that can be considered all-inclusive in the sense that we speak into terms of their meal plans. So they are Rosalie Bay. Rosalie Bay, you can get meals included, tours included, and also on site there is a spa. They are very much geared towards wellness. So we find that persons interested, let's say, in a spacation, that can be included. Their property is also located close to the Atlantic side of the island, so turtle watching is also an activity that your clients can partake in. We have IHG that's recently opened. They would have taken over from Kapinski, and you can have a half board or all meals as well included with regards to that property. For Jungle Bay Resort, you do have meal plans included. They actually have packages. If you go now to their website, you're going to see some fantastic packages that that property offers. They do, for example, the adventure package. They do wellness package, because that property is considered like the edible resort, where the different plants on site, you can literally pick a fruit and eat it right there, as well as the views of the south of the island are quite amazing. And the owner, who is local, is very much focused on wellness. So you find, for example, packages curated where you can do hikes. You're in the south, so you can actually go out and do the kayak sea trail, or you can do a bit of snorkeling, a bit of dive as well. So yes, we do have properties that have those packages included.
Great. Could I ask you a favor, Kimberly? Can you put that other screen up that had the Travel Agent Connect URL, so folks can jot that down if they missed it, if you don't mind? Perfect. Thank you for that. Okay. Somebody's asking about cruise ships and Dominica. So can you share any insight on that?
Yeah, so if you have clients that wish to get to Dominica via cruise ship, you can do so. We are one of the islands that participate in cruising in the Caribbean. So Dominica is part of the itinerary of just about every cruise line that comes into the Caribbean. We have somewhere around 200 calls a year. Our season is from October till about April. We don't have any summer sailings currently. So if you wish to come to Dominica via cruise ship, you can do so through your friendly travel agent. If your guests want to come, you can reach out to them and book them on one of the lines that stop in Dominica. Yeah, so as I said, we've got about 200 calls planned for the next year, 23-24. That's October 23 through April 24. And and we see maybe about 200, a little more than 200,000 cruise passengers that come in. We have cruise lines from the smaller ones like the Clippers, you know, the Star Clippers that have 200, 300, 400 guests to those that have 3,000 plus. At this point in time, we do not have the Oasis class, you know, 6,000 passenger cruise ships coming in due to our infrastructure. But we'll be working on that, so watch that space for those. But if you're interested in cruising, yes, you can come to Dominica that way.
Okay. We've got the agents on here. A couple of them have also asked the question, is Christmas and New Year's a good time to visit? I heard you say when your season was, so I'm assuming obviously for weather it would be great, but is it a good time to visit there? A good time for them to recommend it for their clients?
Yeah, Christmas is, you know, like everywhere, Christmas is wonderful, very family oriented here. And you know, aspects of the Creole culture, you know, come to fore here. If you're coming for Christmas, it'd be great if you make new friends here so that you can partake in the local traditions. Or if you're coming for Christmas, it would be great if you come with your family, multi generational, and so you all, you know, can have a party onto yourselves. There certainly will be people for you to meet here. And weather-wise, it'll be fine. We'll be moving into we have the wet and dry season, and we'll be moving into what is the dry season. And certainly a great time to snorkel and a great time to do some scuba diving as well.
Perfect. Okay. And do you have a whale watching season, if any?
Well, our whale watching season is all year round because of the resident population of sperm whales here in Dominica. And typically that's on a Sunday and on a Wednesday, depending on the service provider that you go with. But it's good also to double check and just make sure that everything's on the up and up. But we certainly do have whale watching season, which is year round. But as you can imagine, during the winter, that's when you see a higher percentage of sightings, which would be kind of from the December period to April period. But we do have whale watching year round.
Great. And I saw that you mentioned hiking, and someone had a question about hiking. Is it convenient and easy to find trails on their own, or do they need to have guides for hiking?
We will definitely recommend that you get a guide through the Tourism Authority, through Discover Dominica Authority. We can assist. Actually, on our website, there are some guides and some operators that you can look up. But we will recommend that you don't go it on your own, just because of the topography of the island itself. Sometimes, let's say, for example, you decide that you want to go to freshwater lake. There's a loop or trail around that. Persons may think, you know, it's pretty easy in terms of walking, but part of that trail actually is sort of like humpback. So you go up and down, and it's always good when someone who knows the terrain can give you some guidance versus going alone. And also in case of any emergency, there's someone there who can assist you.
Good thoughts, definitely. Okay. And how about if kind of along the same lines of that, but how about mobility? Is it a relatively mobility friendly island? Obviously not on the hiking trails and such, but you know, generally speaking, in the residential areas and in the areas where the tourists would be.
That's a great question. And I think that also with the properties, for example, there might be ground floor, or if there may be persons who may be challenged with regards to mobility or wheelchair access, definitely check in with the hotels to understand those room types that you would have to book your clients into. With regards to experiences, I will say you may want to do things like the hot water or the springs, where, for example, you can There's one in particular that you can literally walk off from the road and into a private area for an experience. That is ideal for persons who are mobility challenged. Dining experiences, it's fine for the most part as well, for most, yes.
Okay, good. And good question here. I like this question. What kind of tropical fruits do you have in Dominica? Everything?
Mostly, yeah. I mean,
I would imagine.
you'll find watermelons, you'll find what we call pawpaws that most people know as papayas. You'll find mangoes. You'll find citrus, especially oranges and grapefruits. You get seasonal fruit, indigenous like kennips. So yeah, locally grown bananas. So you've got any number of fresh fruit, passion fruit, depending on the season and when you come down.
That's great.
Welcome.
So I've got just a couple more questions. One of the questions I had, it's kind of something that I believe you kind of touched on in the beginning, Colin, but when you talked about the different carriers that do go there. And the question was, is the airlift going to increase from the US? And I'm assuming with the growth of the island, that is going to be the case, correct?
Yeah, that's our intention and that's our hope. And
Okay.
I will mention that you know, the island, the current airport is looking at an extension that may allow for other airlines, you know, that currently do not service Dominica to consider. And we also have broken ground on a longer runway, you know, an international airport, which might be in the next 3 to 4 years. But everything is seasonal. And what I encourage people to do is, as I said, number one is, you know, American Airline out of Miami. That's great. But the other option is just to look at the hubs that service Dominica. So if there's a flight coming in from Barbados to Dominica, then work backwards, you know, and find out if there's a flight from your city to Barbados that can connect. So there are some airlines that are not on the GDS that still offer service. There are some airlines that are not on the, for example, not on the online travel agencies like Expedia and the like. So you really have to look into it and know what's going on. You may have to do a 2-ticket deal for your guests, but that's part of living in the Caribbean and traveling to some of the smaller islands where, um, you know, where some of the regional where some of the regional airlines are not on the GDS, or where some of the OTAs like Expedia and the like don't show the connections. So I want to raise that point because I think it's very important for you as an agent and you as a consultant to your client. And if you have any questions on that, you can try to reach one of us. But you know, I did a poll on Expedia from JFK to Dominica, and it showed no availability. Now I knew, because I know the access, that there was a regional carrier traveling from Dominica into from Barbados into Dominica. So when I did JFK to Barbados, I got a flight, and when I did Barbados to Dominica, I got a flight. And I raised that to indicate that these are some of the things that you may have to do, but we think it's a small step and a small price to pay to give people, you know, the vacation of a lifetime. Just make sure that there's enough time between the flights so that we know the issues of doing 2 tickets as opposed to one through ticket. But as agents, you've got to calculate that and determine, you know, how best to service your client. So I wanted to make that point so that you understand that while it may seem like there's not a lot of airlift to Dominica, it's because of how it is displayed. So if you go in search of, you will find.
Thank you. That really does help clarify it, and that's great advice. You know, you don't want to just take an immediate look at what you see and believe that. You need to delve a little deeper, and that's what travel agents do. So that's great advice. I want to just, before we mention our last point here, I wanted to let everybody know that we are recording this. So if you didn't take screenshots and such along the way, the recording will be available at travelprofessionalnews.com. Probably best to look for it later today or tomorrow morning once it's all loaded. And so you can find it there in our recorded webinars under supplier webinars. So you'll find that there. Additionally, somebody was asking Colin and Kimberly whether or not they could access the deck that you have. They'd have to reach out, obviously, separately to you. And I don't know if that works for you all, or also just so you folks know that if you didn't get, you'll have the recording, so you can go look at that and screenshot that as well. So I don't know if you guys want to make the deck available to folks or not.
It's best to have them reach out to Jerry and or Holly at Zap Order, and then we can determine how we distribute that.
Okay.
We certainly want the agents to have as much information as they would need.
Where would they find the emails or information for those two individuals that you mentioned? Did you have a slide with that on there that I missed, or?
No.
Okay.
I don't see it. I don't have it, but Kimberly, not sure if we can just indicate.
Would it be here at that link?
It's Holly at zaporder.com. That's a good place to.
Share Jerry's. I think it might be easier to share Jerry's on the shelves. I can probably type it in there because there's a text box. Can everyone see the text box, Julie? Or no?
They can see. Let me see where you could put that. They can, if you put it in the chat box. Let's see. Okay, I see. Jerry has just put it here as private. So let me go ahead and put it in here. Okay, hold on. Let me see if I can do this for you. Hold on a sec. Everybody hold on.
We're doing it on the fly.
Yep, that's all good. Okay. Okay, I just sent it and hopefully everyone got it. Could somebody confirm to me in the chat box that you did get it, or your question box that you did get it? People are seeing it. Okay, good. All right, thank you, everybody. I appreciate it. Okay, great. So take a quick shot of that so you have it, and you can reach Jerry. And that's a wonderful presentation. I'm very anxious to see this island. I'm sorry I've missed it thus far, and I'm looking forward to it, as I'm sure everybody on here is. I want to thank you both very much for this great hour of information. That wonderful, wonderful way to spend the day. We've all learned a lot, and everybody really appreciated it. So thank you all for being on here, every agents that are on here today. I appreciate your time, and thank you, Jerry, and thank you, Colin, and everyone at Dominica for this. Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone.
All the best.
All the best. Bye.